Hello, good afternoon, Tracy. So we are back again for Straight Talk with candidate for Delta College Trustee. Today we have a wonderful guest, Dr. Teresa Brown, and my partner and co-host on this show, Dr. Sabharwal. So I'll request Dr. Sabharwal to please share something about her.
Okay, well, I have been a teacher at Tracy for the past 15 plus years and have taught students at different grade levels. Apart from being a teacher, I've also taught at University of Phoenix and lately have been a proud mentor of new teachers at our district. In short, I have dealt with all age group people either as a teacher, a professor, a mentor, or as a parent myself. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Dr. Sabharwal. Much appreciate you sparing your time and having this discussion today with Dr. Brown. So we know Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown is the current
My
trustee.
pleasure.
Yeah, and Dr. Brown is running for November 3rd. She has wonderful thoughts, ideas where she wants to lead this school. And this schools are, so Dr. Teresa is running for District 6, which comprises of Tracy as well as Mountain House. So all our students, they will get benefited from whatever the direction of the Delta College would be. So now I request Dr. Brown to please give us more introduction about herself.
Thank you very much. And thanks to the Six of Tracy for doing this as a public service to provide people in the community with access to information about all the candidates. It is indeed a great public service. It's education of its own kind.
I
Uh,
cannot hear
I,
anybody.
No, we can hear her. Yep,
okay,
we can hear you, Dr. Teresa.
okay. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and grew up in a coal mining town outside the city. I'm the first in my family to attend college, and I went away to school to West Virginia University, where I got an undergraduate degree in journalism. And I spent the next 18 years working in different aspects of the media. I've worked for newspapers, I've done public relations, I have worked in advertising, in radio and television. And then I had the opportunity to get a master's degree in education, and I followed that up with a master's degree in theology. And in 1992, my daughter and I came to California so I could get my PhD in biblical studies at the Graduate Theological Union and UC Berkeley. And since then, I have worked as the director of online education for the Episcopal Seminary in Berkeley, where I also taught Old Testament classes and biblical language classes. I have then I went to work as a program developer for CSU Stanislaus in developing degree completion programs for people that had an associate degree but had not been able to finish a four-year degree. I've also taught part-time for the Diocese of Stockton for the past 17 years, mostly in the Scripture Institute program. I have lived in Tracy for 18 years, and I moved here from the East Bay because I have an adult daughter with multiple disabilities, and the services for her here in San Joaquin County were superior to what we could receive in the East Bay. And it has been a pleasure to live in Tracy for the past 18 years.
So thank you very much, Dr. Brown. So you have a wonderful career that is with the education, and you are doing a great service for the students that are coming in these directions. So I would now hand it over to Dr. Saprawal for the question.
Okay. Well, we often look for ahead and fail to look back. What are some of the challenges you faced as a trustee, as a parent, or a teenager, even that has prepared you to understand your responsibility as a trustee?
Well, I've been a trustee since 2008. And I was first elected, then re-elected in 2012 and 2016. So when I was elected in 2008, Delta College looked very different than it does today. It was facing a grand jury report. Excuse me. It was having problems with the Accreditation Commission in getting its accreditation recertified without sanctions. There was an audit by the state Controller's Office about the use of the Measure L bond money, and public confidence in Delta College and its board was at an all-time low, I think, because of all of this. And so, as a new trustee, not only did I have these things to face, but if you recall what happened in the late part of 2008, the bottom kind of dropped out of the economy. Unemployment went high. We entered the greatest recession since the Depression. And the college was immediately faced in 2009 with budget cuts, not just once, but 3 times. When we first got our allocation, then in August after we had passed a tentative budget, we got another cut, and then in January we got a third cut. And so we weathered all of that by keeping people employed, by keeping the students learning and graduating. And so I have the experience not just as a trustee, but as a trustee that has helped as part of a board that guided the college through difficult times, both economic and academic and public opinion. And so I think that has served me well to continue on as a trustee, because experience counts, and it especially counts during a time like this pandemic, when we are dealing with a disease that we don't know, and we don't know when we're going to be able to go back to business as usual, if we ever go back to business as usual, and then facing the budget cuts that are coming because the state is lacking in funds from sales tax, income tax, and property tax. And so this is something that I've done before as a member of a board, and I feel that experience is what's needed here to make sure that Delta continues on the right path.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brown. Yeah, so on the day-to-day basis, 24,000 students, they attend the Delta College, so it's touching lots of lives. And in 2019, the college was created as the #1 community college in California and #4 community college throughout the United States from the financial website called Wallet Hub. So yeah, financially it is strong, but this COVID, this is taking a toll. So from the issues perspective, Dr. Teresa, what do you think? So what kinds of issues currently the Delta College is facing, and what would be your approach to tackle those issues?
Well, the issues that we're facing, the important issues that we're dealing with right now, are getting through the COVID pandemic. And I'll just briefly state the issues and then go back about how we can work with them. The second issue is maintaining our fiscal stability with budget cuts in this time of an economic downturn, and also maintaining the not just for our students, but for our employees who depend on us and their families depend on us. And thirdly, I think that what's important is increasing the student achievement rates that we have by increasing our diversity, equity, and inclusion among both our students and the staff. When it comes to the pandemic, I think that the board has supported the administration in making some very wise choices in a hurry. In mid-March, we were able to put 2,023 courses online with about a week's notice. This meant that 350 faculty had to be trained. Some of them had never taught online. Some of them had never thought about teaching online. But here they were teaching online, and our over 20,000 students, some of whom, again, had never thought about doing this, and they didn't have the knowledge or the equipment to carry this through. What the administration did was to provide support through our Professional Development Center and our Dean of Distance and Regional Education to provide training to the faculty. I mean, this is a staff of 3 people, and they were working practically 24/7 in the beginning, and even now, to answer questions and get people comfortable using Zoom or other parts of online learning so that they could serve the students. Because many of our students are low income, about 2/3 of our students receive financial aid, including those who go without paying student fees, which is what we call tuition. Uh, we knew that there were students that were using the computers on campus uh, to do their schoolwork, and some only had cell phones to do the work without these kinds of computers, and that just wasn't sufficient. So, using CARE money, the college went ahead and ordered over 1,000 Chromebooks and laptops for the students, and these were loaned out to them free of charge through the bookstore. And we've placed another order for several hundred more laptops as this goes into the fall semester, so that students can have access to this without any charge to them. And where necessary, we've also provided them with software uh, for specialized courses that the Chromebooks weren't adequate to deal with. Uh, we also then moved all of our student services online. And this includes things like library, admissions and records, our orientation and counseling service, financial aid. And to help with this, we hired 100 people extra to serve a live chat that goes on at the college from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, to help students out, in addition to the staff that's doing this work. We provided a virtual graduation on June the 6th for our students. We put all of our classes online during the summer, and the vast majority of our classes are online this fall. We have some classes that have labs that in our career technical education, and a couple of our science classes that they have to be in person, and Labster isn't good enough to solve their needs. So, following the guidelines by the county health department, we are making it possible for people to come and do this. A week before school started, we had the fire issue. And even though we weren't really damaged here in Tracy and Stockton, the air quality was so bad that the college decided to close the campus for 10 days to protect the safety of our workers and students. And there were people who needed to pick up their books at the bookstore, that they had placed the order online and were coming to pick them up. And because they weren't able to do that, the administration decided, with the board support, to send out the books in the mail with no mailing cost to the student. Monday of last week, they mailed out 600 packages of books, and they only stopped there because they ran out of boxes. So they got more boxes, and the report to the board this past Tuesday said that over a week's time, the 4 employees at the bookstore were able to mail out 6,000 orders of books to the students at no mailing cost to them, so that they would have their books for the class. We also, to help our anatomy, ordered 400 skeletons that are on loan to them through the bookstore, free of charge, so that they have the replicas of the bones that they can see and feel as they would in an anatomy lab. And not to forget anybody, we have students in our fashion program who needed sewing machines to take a sewing class. And we went out and purchased sewing machines and distributed them to the students as well. So these are some of the things we're doing. We also, because we passed out laptops and not everybody has access to high-speed internet, we also purchased hotspots that were given to students who didn't have internet access. And because many households have multiple users of the internet, with people working and children in the K through 12 system, we put Wi-Fi in the campus parking lots, so students could drive to campus and use the Wi-Fi in the parking lot from their cars.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Teresa,
That was a great answer. Thanks.
for sharing the key points. So now, yeah, just hand it over to Dr. Sabharwal. So please.
Well, the first question I asked you was about the past experiences. My next question has to do with the future. With Tracy growing every single day, we have people coming from diverse backgrounds. And I know in your answer, you mentioned equity and diversity. How are you ensuring, as a trustee of Delta College, that there are going to be equity and diversity included?
It's a long process,
Okay.
and it's not something you can solve with policy. I mean, our governing board is primarily a policy board, not an operations board. We don't get into the into the how. We are the what when it comes to this, and we certainly support equity, diversity, and inclusion. And a recent report from the state chancellor's office to community colleges said that the best way to ensure diversity, equity, and inclusion among our students and their success is to have a faculty and staff, but primarily a faculty that reflects the ethnic diversity of the community. And because of the state law that gives the faculty the say in hiring, uh, and the board does not get involved in the hiring of faculty members, we support the faculty, all their endeavors to increase the diversity among themselves. This is by advertising widely to publications for that are subscribed to by people who are African American, Hispanic, female, Asian, LGBTQ, disabled, veterans, and other subgroups to try to increase the diversity, both racial, ethnic, and background for our faculty, so that when a student sees a professor that looks like them, that lives like them, that talks like them, they're more inclined to be successful because they can see that that their goal is more than a dream that they can achieve. And so uh, we are working with a committee of faculty and staff on the campus to increase this diversity because we are a very diverse student body. We are a Hispanic serving institution, and to get that designation, you must be at least 25% students who identify as Hispanic. Well, we have between uh, 46 and 49% of our students who identify as Hispanic. And being a Hispanic serving institution, we get extra funding to help us serve these students. We we are trying to do the same for our African American students, particularly African American males who are lagging. And sometimes the thing is that we don't start soon enough. People talk about, well, when we need to go out to the high schools and we need to recruit at the high schools. Well, we've talked in the past, and I certainly firmly support the fact that we need to go out to the students and the parents when they're in the fourth grade. And we need to start talking to students at that level, 8 and 9 years old, and saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? And when they tell you that they want to be an engineer or a lawyer or a welder or, whatever, then you tell them, well, here's what you need to study so that when you finish high school, you can go on to college and you can do the things you want to do. And we need to tell the parents that there's 2/3 to 3/4 of a chance that your student will come to Delta free of charge, because both the Promise Scholarship that's open to first-time, full-time students of all income levels, and additionally the grant that goes to students who are low income. So we cover a wide variety of that, and this is the way we're going to get to more students, is by starting younger, much younger than high school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Appreciate Dr. Brown. This college has a wonderful legacy. It started in 1935, and for inclusion-wise, from all the diverse backgrounds, students study in this Delta College. They are affiliated to Delta College. So one thing is, so Dr. Brown, so because District 6, this will be catering Mountain House as well as Tracy. So one is the distance, and as you have already mentioned, that 2/3 of the students, they come from the background where they need financial assistance to go to college. So from the distance perspective, sometimes it's hard for the students to every day in their lives to reach the college and continue their education. So the dropout rate is way too high, and the presentation or from the Tracy and Mountain House students are very less as compared to the other areas. So in that direction, what do you think? So should the Delta College be moving in direction to support the Mountain House satellite campus, or planning to open some other satellite campuses around so that students can get valued from the institute?
Well, I think that one of the things the pandemic has taught us is that going back to the way things used to be is never going to happen if we're smart. We're going to, you should never let a crisis go without turning it around and making it an opportunity. And so I think that we will learn a lot that bricks and mortar are not the only answer. And as part of that, Delta College has 10 degrees that you can obtain totally online right now, 10 associate degrees that are obtainable online. So that's not a barrier to somebody, no matter where you live. So that's one thing we can do. Another thing that is a barrier is the financial aid available to community college students in California. Um, of all the educational systems in California, community colleges are paid the least of any. For example, in the K through 12 system, uh, the amount of funding available for students per student is just over $12,000. The amount of funding available to community colleges is $8,500. So K through 12 districts are paid more to teach a third grader than we're paid to teach the first 2 years of college. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Our funding formula is very complex. It's very hard to understand. And this is why experience counts, because if you don't understand the funding formula and you don't see how colleges are paid, it's very difficult to make a plan for the future. The other thing where we're lacking, and is the amount of financial aid available to our students. Uh, the community college students get an average grant of $5,800. That's the maximum grant they can get. Whether that's a Promise grant with a Cal grant, a Pell grant, whatever, adding it all up, that's what it comes to. At the CSU, again, teaching the first same 2 years of college, their students are eligible for $10,600. And at the UC, the eligibility is $27,500. So we are underfunded. And there's two ways to solve this. And we've been working through the Community College League of California to lobby with the legislature to give us equity for community colleges. There is this misunderstanding that community college students are all recent high school graduates who live at home with their parents, who pay for the roof over their head, their books, their fees, their food, and their car and everything else, where the average age of our student is 27. Many of them, even younger than that, are helping to support their families, whether it's their parents, their siblings, their children. And so we need to get some parity, some equity in the amount of funding that our students are eligible for. And so lobbying at the state level is one thing. The other thing is that we know there's money left on the table, that we have students. Our financial aid director gave us a report a couple of meetings ago that not all the students don't apply for, not all the students apply for aid, and those that do apply for aid don't apply for all that they're eligible for. And so the commitment on the financial aid department is to work at getting students to apply for more aid and receive more aid that they're entitled to. So this is a two-pronged, uh, process. And I know maybe it sounds foolish to some people. Yes, we're in we're a budget cut, financial downturn, but that doesn't mean we stop lobbying the legislature and saying it's time to treat community college students with equity and fairness. The community colleges, 115 of us in the state of California, are educating 2.1 million students. That is more than the UC and the CSU put together at all their campuses. So our students deserve equity and fairness.
No, that is correct, Dr. Brown. So those students use this institute as the career building. So they have 100 plus career and degree certification courses. So that makes them ready for their job opportunities. And they're coming from all walks of life, very diverse background. So thank you very much. Yeah, that is the approach. So you have to be finding the ways to motivate the students, to support them financially, also to go through to complete their educational journey. So now I'll hand it over to Dr. Sabwa.
Well, I'm really impressed, actually blown away by your experience. But I also think about when past meets future. This is what the future leaders have to say. We bring fresh breath of air. So how do you compete with that? How are you updating your knowledge these days to keep in pace with the future generation,
Well,
the
this is,
Z?
I'm a lifelong learner. I have a bachelor's degree, two masters, and a PhD, and I continue to learn, to study, as well as to teach. And so, as being part of being a trustee is understanding the role of the trustee, the responsibilities of the trustee, and all the new programs that come down to us from the chancellor's office, from the state legislature. And so, trustee education is not only a continuous process, but one that I support in many different ways. I attend all the meetings, uh, whether, in the past, we had the effective trustee workshop in January for new and continuing trustees, with a legislative conference that keeps us apprised of the changes in the budget and bills before the Assembly and Senate that affect community colleges. There's also a trustee conference in May that deals specifically with the role of the trustees, and the annual convention in November. And this year, our annual convention will be totally on Zoom. So I've attended all of these and attended all the sessions, taking notes and everything. For the past 10 years, I have been a member of the Advisory Committee on Education Services for the Community College League of California. And this is a committee of both um, CEOs and trustees, but primarily trustees, that work to provide educational resources to community college trustees. And this is how we keep things alive. When uh, I was first elected as a trustee, I didn't know a lot, and so I went to my first effective trustee workshop, and I learned about the roles and responsibilities of trustees. And ever since then, I mean, we've had the Student Success Act of 2012, where the legislature defined student success. And success is access, progress, and completion. It's not just feeling good about what you did today. It's about how you're on the path. And so Delta College is one of the 20 demonstration colleges for guided pathways. Uh, we also were early on adopters of AB 705, which is the law that says that it does away with testing uh, to place people in classes. And so it did away with almost all the remedial classes. And now we put students into English 1A and a transferable math class based on their high school uh, grades in those subjects, not on some test that's arbitrary and had absolutely no evidence that it was working. And so we have had great success with English 1A uh, in doing it. And so students are moving through faster. They're not getting stuck in those remedial classes. Our psychology faculty stepped up and started offering a statistics course that is aimed at people who are going on in fields of the social sciences like psychology, sociology, anthropology, where they don't need a heavy math background, but they need to understand how numbers work and how to interpret numbers. And they've had a huge amount of success with this, where math faculty, it may have we've there may have been the perception that math faculty were gatekeepers in keeping people from progressing, where this has been a great boost to students not just to their ability to move on to other courses, but to their ego, to their self-esteem. I passed a math class. And that for some people is incredibly important to what they do next. And we also have a new course approved through the CSU for articulation of personal finance counting as a transferable math. And there is nothing more important to every student than to understand personal finance so that when they go to buy a home, when they go to take out a loan, when they go to buy a car, that they know how to invest their money, how to choose wisely, and make those good decisions. So, all of these things are ways that we can, uh, work with the students on this.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Dr. Teresa. So the thing is, inclusion-wise, as you suggested, yes. So Delta College is very inclusive. It is working towards the direction to attract the diverse background of the students. And you also mentioned that you are working on to increasing the diversity in the workforce also, so that students will see that they have the diversity. So this is the college to go to. So from the differently abled, challenged students and for the ADA compliance, so where Delta College is right now and what your vision is for the providing the same set of educational experience for differently able students.
Okay. Can I go back and finish answering the previous question because I forgot to finish up my final part about
Sure.
trustee education. As a
Right.
member of the Advisory Committee on Education Services, I am the principal trustee developer of the Excellence in Trusteeship program that's run through the Community College League of California. This is a competency based curriculum for trustee education. We have received both state and national recognition for providing this program, including recognition from the Accrediting Association for the way that it has helped trustees serve their communities better. And I'm very proud to continue to be involved with this. We've now put our program online, and I will be doing the first webinar for that coming up in a couple weeks. So I continue to be involved in trustee education. When it comes to dealing with disabled students, persons with disabilities, and I'm not afraid of that word because I have a daughter with multiple disabilities. And I adopted her when she was almost 4 years old. And she has been through the public school system the entire time. And up until the pandemic, she was attending a day program in Tracy through United Cerebral Palsy. So I am very attuned to the needs of our disabled students and keep an eye on what's going on. Delta College has responded to the ADA by providing accessible classroom facilities, restrooms, and support services. We have a, a Department of Disabled Student Services that that provides a variety of services for a variety of persons with disabilities, whether they're hearing impaired, visually impaired, blind, whether they have mobility impairments, some cognitive impairments, learning disabilities. We have a complete staff that is run by a wonderful woman, Danita Scott Taylor, and she has something that's very dear to my heart. Is that every May she has an open house for people coming into the program, mostly from high school, but people coming into the program, into Delta College as students, so that they can showcase the different services they have available. And they even have a panel of students with disabilities of all kinds who are there to answer questions. I attend all of those because I have a particular interest in speaking to the parents. Because when your child is in the K through 12 system or K through 22 for those with disabilities, um, you are their advocate. You are there, their voice. You're there to make sure that their IEP is correct, that everything that they do is that everything that the school district does provides for the needs of your child, whether that need is physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, um, whether it is more time to take tests, whether it's books in large print or braille, whatever, a sign language interpreter. So the parents are very involved and they're very concerned about handing their children, in their minds, their children off to community college. Well, the thing is that when you get to community college, FERPA kicks in and it puts a barrier between the school and the parent. And so it's my job as a parent of somebody with disabilities to stand up and talk to the parent, not just as a member of the board of trustees, but as somebody that has a child they care very much about, that they've been an advocate for their whole life, and explain to them what the transition is going to be for them as a parent and how they're going to not be able to talk to the teacher. They're not going to be able to speak to the counselor about their child because of the federal law that prevents that from happening. And that how they're going to deal with this transition. And one of the things that I do is that I make sure that every parent there has my business card. So that when and if the day comes that they're frustrated, that they're upset, that they need someone to talk to that understands, as a parent of a child with disabilities, they've got me to talk to. That's my commitment to them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brown. So you have the experience and you are bringing it to the parents, you're sharing it with other students and making sure that the college complies with all the ADA requirements, because everybody should be feel the same way. They should feel safe, they should feel acceptable when they're going to the institutes of learning. So they have a wonderful career ahead and they can learn different aspects, different trades, whatever they like. The inclusion should be there. So appreciate you.
May I add one more thing?
Yeah, please.
And that is that many disabilities are temporary and not permanent.
Right.
I mean, most of us know somebody that's fallen during and broken a leg or injured themselves skiing or been in a car accident. And so they are temporarily disabled.
Right.
We accommodate that as well. And we even have an office where we have wheelchairs and people can charge their scooters. And if they need help in being taken from class to class, there's someone to push their wheelchair and help them out if they don't have anybody. We are open to service dogs who have been trained for that job. And our police department is specially trained that if anything happens and the elevators go out, we can get a person in a wheelchair down from a higher elevation without using the elevator through some equipment we've purchased and people trained to use that equipment. So even for the temporarily disabled, Delta College is very accessible. Not everything can be made accessible, but there are ways to go around to make it accessible, because everybody knows that my thing is, if my daughter's wheelchair can't go there, I'm not going there either.
Yes. Yes, no, Dr. Brown, those should not be a barrier for them, because yeah, those are temporary things. They should be felt acceptable. They should feel okay. I can focus on my studies and I can go there and do all my lab works and everything. Accessibility is the very key part, and you are a good proponent for that and working in that direction. We thank you. So now I'll hand it over to Dr. Sabharwal.
Well, I have seen that you have a plan for the future and you have experience in the past. What if you, I wish you luck and I do wish that you get the job. I just am imagining what happens if another candidate gets the job. What will success look like if that candidate gets the job?
I never
Like,
talk
how
about
will you
another.
define success? Yeah,
I only
how will you define success for somebody in that position?
I can't. I've made it a campaign commitment to never discuss another candidate, only myself.
I
And
mean, yeah, in general, what success looks like in a position like such as a trustee of a college.
it's learning how to be a trustee at a community college is really a steep learning curve, which is why I'm committed to trustee education, and why for the past half dozen years I'm the one who's taught the class on trustee roles and responsibilities. Because oftentimes people, when they run for office, make promises that they don't know they can't keep, because no trustee has any individual authority. The only way that the trustees have authority is by majority vote of the board. So that means at least 4 votes. So you have to learn to be a team player. You have to learn how to get along with other people. You have to learn how to listen. And that's probably something I've done my whole life, is learn to listen, both as a newspaper reporter, an advertising salesperson and manager, uh, and as a teacher. I learned to listen to not just the words people say, but what's behind the words that they're saying. And so the ability to listen and learn is very important, because community colleges are vastly different from K through 12, and they're vastly different from the UC and CSU system. So it is a rather steep learning curve, and it takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of uh, listening and learning to understand the role of the trustee, and how we are a policy governing board, where we don't get involved in how things are done. We have one employee, and that employee is the superintendent president in our case, and we can give him direction or suggestions, but we don't get into the details of how he's going to do it. That's his responsibility, and we hold him accountable. There is actually a board policy that says that we delegate the authority to run the college to the superintendent president, and then he delegates portions of his authority to various people in his administration, and they are accountable to him, and he is accountable to us. And that's what every trustee needs to know. And it's not easy, because people make promises. I'm going to do this. Well, there's no I in team,
Right.
as I like to say. And being a community college trustee is a team sport.
That is a great answer. And I would say you have already a vision for future. You have experience of the past, and you also have a definition what success looks like. So thank you. I think I'm just really convinced. And I'll hand it over to
Yeah, no,
host
thank you very much.
again, the main
Yeah.
host.
Yeah,
Thank
no, thank
you.
you very much, Dr. Sabrawal. So, Dr. Brown, so yeah, listening, that is the one thing that requires a lot of dedication. So most of the times, so everybody, they have their thoughts in their mind, what they have to convey, but they don't patiently listen what the other person, or they don't go with an open mind. Unless you go with an open mind, with the pre-biased thoughts in your mind, you will not achieve anything in a teamwork environment. So thank you for your teamwork spirit, so that you can work with the other trustees, as well as work with the other institutions to move forward the goal of the education for the Delta College. And Dr. Brown, in the end, I would say you have touched the COVID aspect, you have touched the financial. Yes, it will be a tough road, but yes, Delta College will be working towards helping those students, two-thirds of the students which need the financial assistance to reach their goals, to their careers. So in the end, I would request you to please summarize to our listeners, to our voters, what Teresa Brown stands for, and how would they remember Teresa Brown.
Well, thank you. I hope that the voters who are listening to this, and when they go to the polls, remember that experience counts. And it especially counts in a time like this, when we're dealing with a pandemic that we're responding to, and when we're also dealing with budget cuts from an economy that is suffering a huge downturn. That this is not a time to change the direction the college is going by changing the leadership in the board. And I would ask you to keep that in mind, that I, even though I live in Tracy and I represent Tracy and Mountain House, I work for every single student in the district and every single employee in the district, no matter where you live. If you live in Rio Vista, in Solano County, if you live in Galt in Sacramento County, if you live in uh, Valley Springs in Calaveras County, I, I'm concerned about you as a student and not just the people that live in my area, because that's the job of the board, is to take the whole college into consideration. And sometimes when you look at the big picture, you're going to make some constituent groups unhappy, but you've got to keep that goal in mind, that it's the good of the institution, it's the good of the whole that's important. I'm a person of integrity. I speak my mind. Uh, our former superintendent president said about me one day, she said, I never have to wonder what Teresa is thinking. She just tells us. And that's a policy I think that works well, is that I have no hidden agendas, I have no secrets, and I'm teachable. If I have a wrong notion, if I'm thinking one way and you bring me evidence and you show me where I'm wrong, I'm misguided, or I could do better, I'm happy to change. And I don't think changing is a bad thing if I do it because I have more information, because it's a better decision. I've changed my mind about many things in my life, and I'm proud to say that I am adaptable in that way. I don't blow with the wind. I have firm beliefs, but I also know that with more education, with more information, and with changes in what's going on around us, that we need to rethink our positions sometimes. And so uh, I am flexible, but not crazy about it. And yet I'm not so firmly embedded that I can't change. And I think that's what's really important, because we're always faced with the need of making changes. And it also serves as a good role model to our students and to the people in the community who we work for. We have advisory committees that tell us what their needs are in the way of jobs that they have opening up. Our most recent program is in robotics, because that's being responsive to the job market. With all the warehousing in Tracy, in particular, we added a program in logistics a few years ago to handle the needs of employers who needed those who had this specific training. So, because the advisory committees give us this information, we're able to revamp our programs to make them uh, more more in line with the employment needs of the area. So again, it's all part of listening, and it's all part of supporting the people at the college who do the real work, and who should get all the applause. Because sometimes the board gets criticized for mistakes that other people make, but sometimes we get the applause for and the credit for the work that other people do. You know, when I was an undergraduate many years ago, I left my home I left that coal mining town, and I went away to West Virginia University, and I got my undergraduate degree there. And when I finished up, I left and I never looked back. Well, community college students aren't like that. They come from the community, and the vast majority of them want to stay in the community, whether they return after a 4-year education or whether they go out to get a job here or open a business here after they get an associate degree or a certificate. And so that's the big difference, is that our students come from the community and are tied to the community in every way. And that's why even though I never went to community college, I'm a firm supporter of the community college idea, because I see the difference it makes. You know, my mother finished the 8th grade and went to work at the Pennsylvania Railroad cleaning Pullman cars. My father graduated from high school and then went into the military. Uh, I have two sisters. One of them is a doctor and one is a lawyer, and I'm a college professor. Uh, every one of my first cousins has a college education. So this is just proof that education can change an entire generation that quickly. So if we want to improve the lifestyle, the income, and the quality of life for people, education is the key. And community colleges are the key to that. Delta College is the closest, safest, least expensive, and best resource for higher education in San Joaquin County today. And I'm proud to be a part of that. I ask for your vote and I appreciate your support.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brown. Yes, education is the key, knowledge is the key, knowledge is the power. And we all thank you for volunteering in this organization, for making sure that the students empower themselves. It's not only for the students, it's for their families, their friends, where they live. 24,000 lives, they depend on the Delta College, and many more who are coming. Like in Tracy, every day 14,000 students go to school. In Mountain House, approximately 5,000 students go to school. So they all want a bridge. They all want these kinds of courses that these colleges offer at an affordable rate and close to their homes, which make them good individuals and help them achieve their goals, achieve the careers that they want. So in the end, I will request our voters to please and please ask your questions for clarification to Dr. Brown. You can reach out to her at her Facebook page. You can forward those questions to us. So we will always forward those questions to Dr. Brown. So Dr. Brown, would you share your page and the contact information where the listeners or the voters, they can reach you at?
Sure. My Facebook page, I have two. I have my regular Facebook page is Teresa Brown, Teresa Brown. And then there's Reelect Dr. Teresa Brown, Dr. College Trustee for my campaign. You can also reach out to me by my email, Teresa R. Brown at sbcglobal.net. I'm happy to answer any questions, give you any information that you need. The one thing I would also say, it's hard to remember everything, but our dual enrollment program with high school students. Um, this is these are high school students that have the ability to take college courses and get credit for them while they're still in high school at no cost to them for anything. They don't pay for books, they don't pay for any student fees. And we started out slowly. Our dean of regional and uh, distance education has done a fantastic job in reaching out to people. And Vivi reported recently at a board meeting that we now have 23 schools, high schools, where students can get college credit. And this fall, there are 88 courses with over 2,200 students in high school taking Delta College classes. So something else to be proud of.
Sure. Thank you very much, Dr. Brown. So it was an honor discussing with you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, your vision, discussing the issues and what solutions you have and how you want to see the Delta College in the future. And I thank Dr. Sabharwal also for being with us. And yeah, see you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.